Who's that coming over the hill? It's Ricky from All Sorts of Words. Obito Comics called me out in a community tag event. This is my first. I'm disgusting. He called me out saying, like, what are your top 5 favorite covers? But he played a little differently because it is too big of a question. That's like saying, like, what are your 5 favorite video games? People are more likely going to answer with like franchises instead of just a single video game. So the way he did it was, what are the top 5 comic covers in his collection? And so that's the way I'm going to play. So these are the top 5 comic covers in this collection. He started off with the shout out, so I'll start out with the shout out. I don't know if I saw Mint Hunter Comics do this. He's way too big. He'll never see this video, but I'd like to see Mint Hunter Comics' top 5 comics in his comic covers. I'd like to see Mint Hunter Comics' top 5 covers in his collection. I'd like to see Reggie from Reggie Collects. I'd like to see his top 5 covers. His is going to be super interesting, the same as Mint Hunter's, because their collections are so diverse. I'm interested in seeing like what tickles their fancy. And then for number 3, I'm the worst. For the record, I'm the worst right now, and I can't remember the name of the channel for the life of me because I'm a bad friend. But there is an individual who does comic book deep dives. It's called Comic Book Deep Dives, you absolute chungus. I'm telling you, my boy's doing God's work, just going through page by page in a comic, showing you what's in it, and kind of commenting on the story as he goes along. I love his channel. And it's the perfect phone surfing channel where I can kind of just like, you know, check up on Mercari and my eBay and all that jazz while watching someone talk about comic books. That's my favorite channel of doing it. So let me put my mic down. Look at this stand. I never use it because I don't know what to do with my hands. So the first thing I noticed, I'm going to go kind of off of what Obito did. And he started off with Goofy Silver Age. Now, there is a ton of Goofy Silver Age DC, and there is an obvious answer, but then there's I can't even look at it because it'll make me laugh. That's why I picked it. Okay, so the obvious answer for Goofy DC crazy covers, you've got Superman denying Aquaman and Jimmy Olsen water. You have Superman without context eating a bunch of cheeseburgers. You have the GOAT of ridiculous out of context DC covers. Like what? So many different covers, spanking covers, Superman getting rid like a Bronco, and just cover the word bubbles. What's happening here? What's happening? Who can stop him? There's so many goofy, just DC covers. I call them stupid man covers because I think I'm clever sometimes. The Silver Age of DC, they're geniuses of no context, presenting you with an image that intrigues you, except I don't know if it was just the Silver Age, the emergence of drugs in the writing scene at these offices, or what, but they're bonkers, and they have, without any context, they really confuse you. But every now and then, one comes along that just tickles every funny bone that I have. And it's this comic right here. This is Jimmy Olsen number 98. And I'll put a better picture of it up here so you can read along with me. But my God. It's a Rick and Morty cover decades before Rick and Morty was a thing. Just this, Superman, this joke has gone on long enough. I don't want to marry a female King Kong. Sorry, Jimmy, but as local witch doctor, I now pronounce you man and wife. And again, who can stop him? He's got his culturally appropriated little hat on. He's doing some sort of magic. And just this screaming face on the ape it's... If I ever have a bad day or I'm having a bad week, I can put up my stupid band covers and my 3 displayed books back there. I only allow myself 3. But I put my 3 books up there. This is always among them, and it just never stops making me laugh. Number 2 on my favorite all-time covers that I own, and this is, again, sticking with DC Silver Age. This is this is Showcase Presents number 34. You think I'd know that, but I have a brain I dedicate to other stuff too, you know. This is the first appearance of Ray Palmer, the Atom, and this is just a badass cover. Like, again, with no context, this little tiny person and this little tiny person in a bottle, and here, I'm trying to get it away from the light, and you can see from the reeds and the water and the perspective that these are two, in fact, tiny individuals, right? But Ray is hammering this one in, and he looks desperate to get out. Now, this is the B story in this comic book. The A story is just the origin, for those who've never read it. But the B story has a tale of this little guy needing help, and the Atom putting him in the bottle and throwing him so that he can protect his friend. But again, if you're just a kid walking by the comic stands, you're like, why is this tiny superhero murdering this man? Now, if you watched either of my Vampirella comic book videos that just came out last week, it was everything comic collectors need to know about Vampirella, which is kind of the nitty-gritty of her history, her franchise, general collecting tips, and then the actual entire Vampirella collection. In that collection, I identify my favorite Vampirella comic book cover of all time. I'm a huge Vampirella fan, but my favorite times to see her, my favorite instances of her appearance are when the artists take a lot of crazy liberties and they go in strange directions you're not used to. She's a horror vixen. She appears on a ton of different covers. She always looks sexy. But Vampirella number 85, this space cover is just, it's actually my favorite comic book cover of her entire run. I absolutely adore this cover. The space, the bar that makes it look like a movie theater, the trade dress itself looking different than it normally does. Here, let me grab a Vampirella really quickly so you can see, like this is what the trade dress normally looks like. Kind of spooky, but then this just metallic redo, and it only appears on this issue along with the rest of the theme. And I gotta tell you, although this seems out of color for what you might know for Vampirella, she's an alien. She is an alien. At the end of the day, she is an alien from another planet, and this is just the best image of her. I want this painted on the side of a van. I want this painted on the side of a Gravitron at a local fair. I love this image. I can't say enough about this image. Okay. This next one's hard because I'm giving up a series of videos that are coming in the future. This is literally what I'm going to be working on next week. So if you find this at all interesting, this next segment, you'll definitely want to tune in because I'm doing a continuation of the Everything Comic Collectors Need to Know About series that I did with Vampirella, but I'm doing it with a series called Crossed. Now, if you watch that Vampirella video, you'll see kind of my Rule 34 internet rule. Look it up. If there is an adult video that you think of, like, has anyone ever done that before? And you find out, well, come to think of it, no one ever has done that before. The joke of the internet rule is that now you have to make it. Well, I'm an enormous Crossed fan, like an actual fan of the series. I'm not a creep. I promise I will explain myself. But I'm a huge fan of the series. And when you do it right now, open up a different tab, go look up Crossed comic books. Most of the videos are multiple years old. Most of the videos are people talking about like how crazy and extreme it is, which it is, but they don't really go into like the details of why it's impactful or why it could be important to somebody. They just kind of focus on the extreme nature of it, which ostensibly is the reason to read the series, but for me, it's not. So this is just the preview image so that you have some context. So this is a series where the worst possible zombie, not zombie virus appears on Earth. This is how you identify a person who's infected from a distance, but up close, trust me, they'll identify themselves. You become the worst version of yourself when you're infected with this disease. What do you mean? You don't return your red box and you don't use your blinkers in your car when you go to signal? That means you're thinking too small. I mean the worst version of yourself. You don't care about your own physical safety, and you definitely don't care about the physical safety of the people around you, even the ones you love the most. And you become psychotically, viciously obsessed with inflicting as much pain as humanly possible on those around you. What type of pain, you might ask? Think awful. No. That's not awful enough. Keep going. There it is. Awful. Why do I like this series? Well, in brief, because I'll be going into it into the bigger video, I like media to make me feel every possible emotion. I like to laugh. I like to get excited during action sequences. I watch sad movies to make me cry because I want to get there emotionally. But there's an emotion that a lot of comic book creators and artists don't ever dare go near because most creators and artists don't. And that is despair. I like to feel that emotion. Not all the time, not necessarily when I'm on vacation, but as a knowing myself, experimental, thoughtful way of looking at the world, I also like to feel despair. And pound for pound, drawing for drawing, line for line, there is no greater comic book series to elicit that feeling within me than Crossed. And so the comic image that I chose today for my number 4 is now, little guys, leave the room. People with sensitive natures, just get out of here. Skip this part. This is Crossed Badlands, number 18, the torture cover. This depicts a row of gamblers betting on infected who are moving towards an individual tied to a pole. And this person is doomed. Crossed is really good at that with just their covers. They can get me to that despair place really quickly. And so a lot of my collection has been curtailed towards that feeling of despair. When I'm getting ready to read a Crossed book, which I want to say I read maybe, like, if I'm going to read one, I'll read the 6-issue arc in a sitting because I want to get that feeling and get the hell out. But I've curtailed my collection so that the covers hit you with that feeling right away. You pick up the book and you know exactly what you're getting into. And sometimes that's really helpful for even a reader like myself, where I see it and I go, not tonight. And then I go on to something else. So I love that series. I love what it makes me feel. I love the depths of sadness I can reach when I read those. And so, like I said, if you like anything that I just said or find that intriguing or want to know more, check out my videos coming out next week where I talk about that in depth. Last, number 5. This is not only my favorite cover in my collection, this is my favorite single book in my collection. Not only for what it means for the character that is presented in it, but also the way the cover tells a complete story. I don't know if you got that yet, but that's kind of my jam. I like comic covers that tell me a tale. Even if they just let me imagine most of it, get me there. Get me there before I even open the book. Adventure Comics 210, first appearance of Krypto the Superdog, 1955, DC Comics. You get an entire story right here where the Superboy is perturbed because he just dropped off a bank vault and our best boy over here is bringing it back to him. I love the story of this. I love that it tells Curt Swan's covers. Curt Swan is the Silver Age of DC for Superman. He did so many different covers. So many iconic images you think of with Superman were Curt Swan. And then beyond all that, you can watch my other video about my deep, deep affection and love for Krypto the Superdog. How he's not just a superhero, he is every dog I've ever owned. So again, if I'm having a bad week, if I need to be in this office for work and I'm walking by my comic collection over there, to see Krypto waiting for me it's invaluable. It it really does brighten up my day. So those are my 3 top covers in my collection. Again, in brief, I'm calling out Mint Hunter Comics, Reggie Collects, and the channel that I still didn't bother looking up the name of. It's called Comic Book Deep Dives, you absolute chungus. Because I'm a bad friend. And lastly, this is just a personal message. Anybody else, you can click off. You can leave. You can leave now. Go ahead. Go ahead. Get out. So I'm 37 years old, and in most things, I'm cowardly. I get nervous about trying new things, and filming myself, buying this $300 microphone, setting up this camera, editing videos for the first time just a couple weeks ago. It's terrifying. It really is, especially as you get older, because new things, they spook you out. And I filmed my first video legit 6 times, just over and over again, filming and refilming, trying to get it right, trying to be myself more, relax, breathe. I've only been doing this for a month. My next video will mark 8 videos, 2 videos a week, which was my commitment to myself to try to actually build this channel to something that I want to see it at. And I filmed my first video 6 times. I was terrified. And then I kind of gave up for the day, what I was doing every other day. Film the video, hate it, hate the way I look, hate the way I sound, hate my personality, delete the video, and then go watch some more YouTube, because that's what you do when you don't make content for the YouTube comic community. You still absorb it, you just don't get to participate. And I found a 15-year-old kid with a heart of gold who had an affection for this hobby that really put me in my place. Here I am with grown-up money, throwing it down a well to just continually collect more and more of what I wanted. I'd buy a $400 issue, and then 3 days later, I'm back on the same apps looking up the new issues. And then up comes this 15-year-old kid who's absolutely thrilled with every comic in his collection. He's collecting with his mom, which is the most wholesome thing I've ever seen. And he's just thrilled about everything he has. And it was infectious. And I thought to myself, if this kid can do it, there's no reason why I can't do it. And that's not a knock against his quality at all. Like he's editing his videos. He's charismatic. He's doing a great job. But it helped me get out of my own way is how I want to put it. So that channel is Obito Comics. And I filmed my very first video, and I went to his page, and I just wanted to say, hey, you inspired me to do this. So here's a link to my video. If you're ever inclined, just know that you had as much a hand in making this as I did, kind of deal. And what do you know? Weeks later, he does a shout out and he remembers me, and it just, I don't know, like people talk about the kindness of the comic book community. And this guy added like 4 subscribers to my channel in like an hour just by being nice and being a kid. And it, man, I gotta tell you, I'm excited to do that for anybody that I can. So the more people that like this channel, the more people that subscribe to this channel, the more people that comment on these videos, and get them out there and enjoy them themselves, I am more than happy to pay it forward and promote anybody's channel that I can. I will engage with anybody's channel. If someone makes a video response to any video that I make, or if they make a video and they want to know what I think about it, I will absolutely be on here later that day. He only shouted me out, I think it was literally this morning. If it was last night, it was in the middle of the night, but I woke up and I saw it right away. And here I am. So this is how engaged I'm willing to be in the comic book community. And I'm so excited to be a part of it. And yeah, thank you, Obito Comics. Thank you so much for your kindness and your support. And thanks for everybody that came over from his channel to support this one. Thank you. That's it. Enough of the fuzzy stuff. Shut up. You're emotional.